Alexis ausente.
And in the bottom left side of Ice and Chrome, we're looking at the main base of the Russian Protoss representing Wardy. He's just part of every broadcast, isn't he? This is real.
See, that music was strong and cheesy. Case in point.
No, I was with you when you said that you believe that MarineLorD has higher peaks, and I think it's hard to argue with a fact like that, right? MarineLorD is somebody who has shined at both online and offline events. We always talk about him all-killing Team South Korea by himself, but let's not forget that he also made it to the finals of a DreamHack Valencia once upon a time. Super impressive, but there's a little asterisk there. The same tournament that MarineLorD made it to the finals in 2016, where he lost against Nurture in the grand finals, by the way, but making it to the finals is always special. He actually lost in the group stage to, you guessed it right, it was real.
Yes, indeed. You were telling me about this actually earlier, and that is pretty surprising. All the way to the finals, but losing to this very man. So, I don't know, man. MarineLorD is kind of a macro-oriented player above all things. Would you say, Roddy?
Yes, but in this matchup, I sometimes question that a little bit. I feel like he does get into macro games when either he's super far ahead after his initial push, or he is a little bit behind because it failed. But yeah, when I think of MarineLorD, I do think of macro. We know that he loves to play mech as well and just sit back. Sometimes even in this matchup, I don't think I'm expecting it today, but it would be fun actually, some Macarino and TVP.
That would be really cool to see. And this guy definitely has a mixed bag of tricks. Up and downs and higher picks we were talking about, a lot of that is because he has taken a lot of breaks as well. Both of these guys have been playing since the very beginning, I think.
Yeah, and they both retired 3 times, so that's actually
yeah.
cool.
Yes, indeed.
But here we are, guys. The year is 2020, and they're both still playing. Nobody really is able to walk away, right? Unless you truly have something else going on in your life. Look at MarineLorD going for that super quick triple CC. So we were talking about him macroing. Triple CC against Phoenix is not bad, especially some Protoss players at this level. I mean, don't ask me why, cats. I think it's a little crazy, but they keep the Phoenixes at home for a bit because they're like, okay, I don't want to reveal the fact that I'm building multiple Phoenixes. And then on top of that, they also don't want to, reveal the fact they have Phoenix in the hope that a Terran player sends their first medevac straight into those Phoenixes.
Yeah, but do you think that's one of the main reasons to go Phoenix in the first place, or do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I actually think scouting is very important for Protoss as well. And now the Stargate has been revealed, so if I was real, I would definitely send my first Phoenix to the other side of the map and see what's happening. Because you can't just sit at home and hope there's always a medevac showing up, because there are too many different openings of Terrans out there.
And your opponent should be a little bit more cautious now that they know there's Phoenix out there anyway, right?
Yep, so it doesn't make any sense to keep them at home. Real is indeed sending his first Phoenix to the other side of the map, and he should be able to identify that, wait a minute, this isn't standard at all, it's a triple CC. Now I wonder what he does. I think the best play to make is go 3 next high immediately.
Okay, how do you feel about MarineLorD here delaying the, now dropping the factory, delaying the starport by quite a bit and adding production? I feel like this should stack up pretty well against Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I actually really like MarineLorD's build on paper, because most of the time when you play Phoenixes, you want to stay 2 bases a bit longer, right? Because Phoenix Colossus takes an insane amount of gas, and you have very few units to begin with. So actually, I love everything that MarineLorD is doing. Economically, he's going to be in a fine spot. He might lose a couple SCVs here and there, but he's going to have really quick access to stim, and that means that from that point on, the Phoenixes have to be super careful as well.
Yeah, and he's going to have so many Marines well-positioned as well, so the Phoenix is not really finding much of anything. This could cost the Phoenix!
Wow. That's a horrible way to start. Phoenix is obviously a unit that snowballs, right? A bit like Mudas, but even worse, because you need the energy, and every time you lift, 1 or 2 of your Phoenixes are not shooting. So it's really important to get those Phoenix numbers up there. Losing 1 out of 3 Phoenix basically makes it impossible right now for either of these 2 Phoenixes to really harass. And since Real is not building Phoenixes anymore, it seems like he's just giving up on the tech. And I find that a bit surprising, actually.
Do you think so? I kind of like it, because I don't know how he was going to find more damage. I mean, now turrets are coming in. Stim that you mentioned is coming in. He saw all the production of MarineLorD. I mean, this Phoenix were horrible for him. I agree with that, but I don't know if he needed to overcommit to horrible at this point.
Yeah, but I don't know. I still feel like once you're going down that road, you got to keep on walking for a little bit, right? Like get 4 or 5 Phoenix out so you can snipe medevacs a bit quicker. And if you want to play Phoenix Colossus, that's going to work out as well. Because at this point, Stim is done. He doesn't even have a Colossus yet. So he's going for charge, but he's also preferring attack over army here. These Zealots are going to run into a Terran. Pretty damn decent bio ball, and they're just going to disappear.
Them, yeah, and Storm is nowhere to be found or anything like that. So I agree with you. I think the armor would have been a much better choice, especially because the attack is already nearly done for MarineLorD. So he's just in a fantastic position, I think, from the get-go. What does Rail need to do? Like disruptors? Something shocking, right?
Yeah, I think he is aiming towards Storm, like you mentioned before. And obviously, if you get High Templars out, it's always good. But I think right now what he really needs to do is make sure that his sentries are in the correct position. Because if MarineLord's army gets on top of the army of Rill, I actually think Rill just loses everything. Maybe near a overcharged battery he's got a chance, but other than that, I don't think he's got much of a shot. And this is a pretty wide open area. These force fields better be on point. I love the double drop as well. Rill's army is really immobile. And that's the downside of stop building Phoenixes. Like, what are you going to do right now? Send 2 Phoenix to deal with this drop? No way.
Oh, it's not even going to be spotted. MarineLorD so cautious. Really, really nice moves here.
Oh my goodness, charge. Oh. Yeah. This is actually becoming a really painful game for Rill at this point because he can't do anything until maybe Storm is done. But his army is so slow right now. It's a sitting duck army, and there is no potential for Rill at all to make a great play. Like, what are you going to do? Send slow Zealots to the other side of the map? That's comical.
That is comical. That should give MarineLorD the map if he wants it, right? To further expand. Or what is the play here? It looks like a Ghost Academy is going to be his choice. Is he going for a 3-base timing?
Yeah, I think as long as you have a couple ghosts in the mix, you land some EMPs. At this point, Rill only has one hope in this game, and that's let's land some magical storms. So obviously getting an answer for those High Templars is good. But if I was MarineLorD, I would really push the issue a bit harder. Just try to bait out 1 or 2 storms, because the rest of the army of Rill is so bad right now. Like, bad is an understatement, Papi. That's how useless it is.
Oh, God. Yeah, this spotting Phoenix will die. Nice storm, though, to begin. The Widow Mines will not get to burrow, really, and he's going to chase on. This looks decent of a start for Rail, as good as you could have imagined. Force fields are not perfect, but they're good enough to shove off some more of the army. Not bad.
Not bad, but now he's out of Storm, and he used one of them is into an Archon. But yeah, no, absolutely surviving there with that terrible army is already a win, because other than the Storm, you just saw when he thought about chasing, it's like, no, you don't chase with this Protoss army. You're going to lose everything one by one, and this is not an option. So I think Rill did the best there, given the situation, but I don't really want to call that a victory.
Right, behind it, MarineLorD taking the 4th, like we were mentioning, was an option. Getting further defenses set up with those sensor towers, and ghosts are now out, as well as the ghost upgrade coming up for MarineLorD. So this next wave is going to be all that much harder, I guess, huh?
Yep, these armies will just get bigger and bigger. And that's also the kind of the phase where force fields are not that intimidating anymore. Now, at least Charge is going to finish up. But I love... Sorry?
Why are force fields not intimidating as much?
Because like everything behind the force fields will still have so much DPS that if you get in range, it all just disappears anyway. Like, there's still potential, of course, with some good force fields here, but sentries also clump up. The ghosts can land some EMPs, and hence Shockwave is going to finish up in a couple of seconds. The mines are just running forward here. This is an awkward choke point to go through, I guess, with Terran units, but...
Yeah, maybe break the rocks even before going through it, honestly. I mean, you're at no haste, right? You can just wait the storms out here, break the rocks, chill. Big flank, though.
Yeah, Rill actually kind of feels that this is his moment, and there aren't that many bio units here. A lot of them are still on the other side of the map. The EMP is good, though. It's just, I look at this Protoss army, and I feel like it's clumsy. This is just a really clumsy army.
Yeah, I think that Rail could have maybe chased there, though. He had so much still, and none of the Archons got hit by the EMPs, but I'm not sure if he saw that. Still, look, still with half of his army, it's enough to fold this. And to add to your point on the sentries, the Widow Mines are going to go off again. Oh, that's nasty.
That is nasty. Seems like Real was super worried about another big drop happening in his main base, or maybe a frontal attack at the fort base, because he's like, that can't be it. He must have a lot more. And like, yeah, he does have a lot more, but that was all at home. MarineLorD is playing super macro-oriented over here, and I do love the army movement as he's now going towards the bottom. Do we have a couple ghosts here in the mix? Seems like the answer is no, but Liberators will siege up, and if these libs siege up, it's going to be so hard for Real to fight this Terran army.
Single angle he's coming in from. He is gonna try to push on fourth and pass the liberation zones. He does have a lot, but some of the Archons are getting stuck behind the rest of the units. And Rail will manage, looks like, to clear this up, actually, Roddy.
Yeah, it's impressive. It wasn't that pretty because those Liberators were alive for a very long time. But Real does kind of push through. What I'm just worried about is where is this really going? Like, I almost feel that this could be his best moment. He has like 4 or 5 Immortals. There aren't that many bio units and Liberators right now. I would almost say try to force the fight and run into the natural, which I don't know if that worked, but he needs to make something happen.
I completely agree, because every time MarineLorD attacks, he just remaxes bigger and stronger and has 1 extra base, and then Rail is reset. So really good EMPs to start off here, and MarineLorD feeling like he can chase. There's no storms left, so a lot of this army is gonna get shaved off. Now the storms arrive to push MarineLorD back, but yeah, this is great for him now.
What I'd love to see from Real at this point is just a second Robo, maybe even a triple Robo. Take all your gases, and then just hope that MarineLorD takes a couple of awful fights into your big, powerful Robo units. Because the army that he's currently working with is, once again, just not good enough. EMP lands on the High Templars. I mean, what do you do if you're Real? If you turn around, you lose everything. But if you run back home, then the Liberators get into a really good position. So I think it's a loss-loss. Maybe the one Colossus can make the difference here.
That would be incredible if it could. I mean, maybe to push him back, but I got a feeling MarineLorD's gonna be on 8 base by the time this ends. So yeah. So that's a little bit of a problem. He's gonna continue kiting and continue trading, and that's exactly what he wants. He's playing a brilliant game, the French.
Yep, and he's playing a very safe game because he always leaves so many units at home to deal with a potential Zealot run-by that wasn't happening, but it's not. It doesn't even really matter at this point. These Marauders, I don't think they are going to get stopped. It's a couple of Zealots being wiped in, but the pylon gets sniped as well. And I think that this one is all over as one more EMP lands on the Colossus and the probes as well. Look at the minimap, like the reinforcements are arriving. Real has lost 8,000 resources more in this game than MarineLorD. Like, that's insane.
That's insane, considering MarineLorD is the one throwing armies at him nonstop, right? But just amazing macro by him. He also had another CC being set up, just finishing on his side of the map, so he wasn't stopping anytime soon. And I really like what he did. I mean, just applying a lot of pressure, being in his opponent's face all the time, not letting him breathe, and just remaxing and doing it again.
I loved the way that MarineLorD played it. He played it super safe. I think the main reason why this game even went on for as long as it did is because he apparently lost too many games to War Prisms or Zealot run-bys, right? So he always kept all of his reinforcing units at home, and often he was fighting with an army on the other side of the map that was smaller than what he actually had at home, because he had way more units sitting in his natural, sitting in the third, just making sure that nothing crazy happens and this game doesn't slip away. But like, for me, like, I always focus on the beginning of a game and like, where did we get into the situation that we were at? I just don't see the point of making 3 Phoenix, losing one of them, and then being like, Phoenix are no good here. Like, I think Phoenix Colossus is always a good comp, at least for until the Terran is on 4 bases. So to give up on your Phoenix stack that quickly just because your opponent is playing triple CC, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I would love to see him commit a little bit more there. Even if it's hard.
Phoenix, Roddy? Like 250 resources, something like that? 150?
Yes, 150, 100.
That's pretty expensive. And you think just commit, even if you see the third CC, just that's the way?
Yeah, because it's not necessarily always about sniping SCVs. It's about heading towards a strong army comp. And Phoenix and Colossus go really well together because as a Terran, if you attack without Vikings, well, then obviously you're going to lose all your medevacs. If you lose all the medevacs, eventually your push runs out of steam, right? Because you can't stim. So I think just get that 3-base Phoenix Colossus setup going. It's going to be a very macro-oriented game, but I think it's a bit crazy to just give up on the Phoenix immediately after you basically spent roughly 1,000 resources, like 5 minutes into the game, and then be like, I don't need him anymore.
It's a huge investment, and it's your first choice as well of investment, right? So it kind of sucked when he got scouted, but he got scouted before making or as he was starting the Phoenix, I feel like, right? I feel like he could have still changed routes. Could you ever go Oracle there, or is Phoenix, or are you committed to it?
I think if you are an Oracle player, you can absolutely go Oracle, because I think that Reaper was just in the center of the mineral line, right? So I think there is always a potential for even Phoenix Oracle. I know that's a different matchup, but just ask Hellraiser. He makes magic happen with those units. Anyway, a rough game one for this man. Hailing from Russia. He needs to turn it around if he wants to keep his hopes and dreams alive of making top 4 in this group. This is real.
And an amazing game from this man, the French. He is MarineLorD. I love talking to MarineLorD because I can only understand about 50% of what he says, but he speaks it with such confidence that I'm like, I believe you. You know what I'm
like MarineLorD is one of the biggest trolls actually in the StarCraft 2 scene, man. Like, he's in every Twitch chat, and you know, whenever I play one of the top guys on the European server, he's always there in the channel to, you know, on the one-off chance that I win a game I shouldn't win, and then he starts spamming. He's like, "Oh, Rotis," and I was like, "Oh, goodness, leave me alone." I have the feeling, by the way, that after we had a super macro-oriented game 1 coming out of MarineLorD, that game 2 is the complete opposite. Everdream is a very small map. I think this is a perfect map to go for some of these like non-Reaper builds. Yes, indeed. He goes Reactor first. Then you make 7-8 Marines, 2 tanks, you pull 3 SCVs, you push the natural while sending a Liberator into the main base. Something among those lines. I feel like this map is really good for those builds, and it would be a nice way to switch it up.
What is bad about the Reapers here? Or are Reapers bad here, or is the map just good for other things?
No, Reapers are not bad, but Reapers are an investment, right? So if Terran players cut out the Reaper and they want to make one of those Marine tank pushes, by skipping the Reaper completely, you're going to have a few more Marines because they rush that reactor out. So you have a few more units. And some of these builds made are disgusting. It's like 4 minutes and 45 seconds. 7 or 8 Marines and 2 tanks can show up in the natural of the Protoss, or 1 tank at least, and a couple SCVs, if the Protoss didn't see it coming in advance and doesn't do a good job in slowing it down. So that's kind of the power of skipping the Reaper.
Alrighty, that sounds great. And this is then a particularly good tank push map for... Yep. Is that mostly distance or just annoying positions?
Maybe a bit of both, but definitely distance. This map is just tiny, so slow Marines without stim, you know, can actually still make it to the other side of the map rather quickly. And I think that's why this map is really good for it.
Yeah, it's also kind of choky there, and I don't know if a ramp would benefit the tanks or would work against the tanks. Does the flat surface work for the Terran or against?
Yeah, it definitely works for the Terran because they often have no air unit there, or maybe 1 at best.
So
if you have no,
I don't need an air unit on this map.
Yeah, exactly. So you can send the one. Sometimes it's a Viking, sometimes it's a Liberator into the main base, and it's really annoying to deal with.
Brilliant.
But I don't know if MarineLorD is going to do that. We have seen it a couple of times, but I don't know if he's going to do that because he's making Hellions at this point, and you don't really push with Hellions.
What do you do with Hellions then?
Maybe this is going to be one of these Marine Hellion move outs where you just hope that your opponent doesn't have a shield battery in the natural, and then you can do a lot of damage. But there is a shield battery in the natural, so I don't think there is that much potential in this opening for MarineLorD.
All right, let's check it out. There's Blink on the way, so that's going to be decent for Rail kind of moving later into the mid game and potentially slowing any further pushes. The shield battery is going to do great work here. I don't know if I like this commitment from MarineLorD, but he's going to sneak in through with both of the Hellions. Oh, Rail could make a pylon there. Instead, he's going to use the probes and block very nicely. Oh.
Wow. Okay. That's actually a really good start from MarineLorD in the end. I guess there was not enough entry for a force field, right? I was waiting. I was like, why isn't he force field?
No, he had a force field. He had a force field. I think he wanted to save it, right?
Well, that's a crazy call then, because I wasn't 100% sure if he had a force field or not, because he did hallucinate a Phoenix before, but it looked, I didn't click on the sentry, but it looked like he had enough energy. I'll take a look at it at the end of the game, guys, I promise, and then we'll get closure for everyone at home. But
I'm pretty sure he, I was looking at it as well, you know, like, but yeah, you would know best. I mean, you're the Protoss here.
It looked to me visually that he had a force field, but I cannot confirm because I didn't click on it. But not force fielding there was really painful, because if he does drop the force field, he loses the sentry and that's it, nothing else. Now, because he didn't drop the force field or he didn't block properly, he lost 6 probes. Like 4 minutes into the game, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, here's the thing though, Roddy. If, yeah, aside from the force field, you could just block it with a stalker, right? The ramp.
Yeah.
So if he could do that, then probably he thinks, okay, I'll save the force field. This is what I'm thinking is he missed the block rather than missing the force field. I don't know.
Okay.
But that was bad. Six probes bad. So that's not a great start for him.
No, that's a very valid argument, to be honest. Like, I'm obsessed whether or not he had energy. Even if he didn't have energy, put a stalker in the middle there and have the sentry or have a probe there. Anything that actually just allows you to keep those Hellions outside of the main. Because with the shield battery in the natural, you're in no danger of losing workers in the natural. So that was his #1 priority. Keep these Hellions out of the main base. And this wasn't even a massive investment by MarineLorD. It was a rather tiny one.
Yeah, tiny is a word that MarineLorD uses a lot in other contexts. And let's see about this push, though. This is a strong one, Roddy.
Yep, it's also very early, and it's kind of funny because we have eBase going down as well. We have a triple CC already for MarineLorD, so it's a bit crazy that he's moving out. I almost feel like he's faking this move out.
It's going to work. I mean, the Banshees are going to go in unopposed, and they're going to cloak in at the very end. There is an observer out. The Stalkers now catching wind of this, or at least the possibility of it. The Banshees are going to do too much, though.
Yep. The observers are so far out of position. There is an observer in the natural that's heading into the main, but these Banshees are going to wreak havoc. That's a lot of workers going down, a lot of lost mining time as well. It's a disastrous best of 3 so far for real, and MarineLorD is kind of getting everything done that he's hoping for.
Yeah, and he's just going to sit here with his Banshees that have now scouted everything. He's going to proc the additional warp pins, and MarineLorD is just happy for now taking his third. I mean, the production tab has a story to tell, Roddy. Much going in the way of MarineLorD, not a lot in the way for Rails. What are you doing now from here?
I think you hope that MarineLorD takes a terrible fight where he moves out a bit too early and you swarm in with Zealots. I think attacking... I mean, yeah, you can maybe say Stim isn't ready yet, but he's forced to keep 5 Stalkers at home. That means that he's missing all of those in his attack. He doesn't have a War Prism with his attack. There is no Pylon or Gateway proxied either. This army is too tiny to really get anything done. If Rill throws away these units, I mean, he's dead. But if he doesn't throw them away, he's also in a lot of trouble. So I don't know. But I don't want to see him commit, though. That would just be silly.
Definitely, but at the same time, if you make this many units as Protoss, are you under any pressure of doing something? I feel like when the Banshees were there for MarineLorD and he saw all these units being made, you know, it's not exactly Zerg. You guys definitely don't want to miss too many warpins, but you know, is there something to that?
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, because I have that feeling as well when I'm playing a game and I'm like, man, I made so many Zealots, I better fight soon, right? Because eventually they're not that useful anymore. But sometimes the best thing you can do is just send a couple Zealots into the corner of the map and wait for a run by a little bit later on. And I think Stalkers are actually always kind of useful, right? In gunning down Medevacs, protecting your Colossus later on. So having those Stalkers is not that bad. But I don't know, the story of this game is just that Rill took way too much economic damage and is now not able to get much done.
Yeah, these poor scouting stalkers as well are pretty expensive. You know, that's the second scouting stalker that's in the middle of the map. I guess he thinks he can blink it in time, but doesn't usually get to it. Rail still has a pretty good army with the Zealot here. Those mines could be working for him. A little bit scary.
I'm surprised that he always goes for attack first. Actually, he has double fortune, so that doesn't really matter. Like, I know a couple of the Korean Protosses and some of the Europeans as well. They prefer attack over armor if it's a very traditional game where you open up with Twilight, a couple of Blink Stalkers to get those Stalkers out on the map ASAP. Makes sense, but I think if you're this heavy on the Zealots and you're a bit later into the game, I actually think having armor is more important than attack here. But he's getting double fort, so that doesn't matter at all. I do love the Disruptors, though. I feel that that's one way that Rill can absolutely claw his way back into this game. At this point, it looks horrible, but hey, a cheeky Purification Nova or 2, and he's totally back in it.
Yeah, that's what I love about this Raptors. They're a very swingy unit. What do you know how the attack upgrade benefits Colossi in the matchup?
They do more damage.
No, for sure. But like against Bio, like I said, is it significant? Like,
I mean, I think
is that maybe the reason for the
it definitely makes a difference. I don't really know the exact numbers of like how many shots does it take to kill a Marauder, but I do know that if you're down in upgrades and you're fighting Marauders with your Colossus, it just feels like they're doing nothing. But against Marines, I think they're always pretty good.
True. Alrighty, so pretty strong setup here by MarineLorD.
Yeah.
Not sure that that's going to be defended at all. It's not a MarineLorD again. I mean, we have a similar story to last game, Roddy. We have 4 bases. MarineLorD moving out with a huge army. And what can Rail do? Land some Purification Novas, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really lame and boring answer, but it's honestly kind of the only thing. I would have loved to see, since he had so many Zealots, to maybe split off 10 Zealots and go for a big run by when MarineLorD moves out. Even if that's risky and it maybe makes you uncomfortable because you already don't feel that rich. I don't like being in range of those tanks. Get the hell away from there. What I don't get is if you're this far behind, why doesn't he go double Robo? Because the Robo units are the only thing that's going to turn this game around.
Most definitely. Well, we'll see what happens here. These are really good corners for MarineLorD to take. Oh, okay. 2 MarineLords run into their death.
I love that. Ah!
Is this going to be enough? This is a lot. I think. Oh, what the blink! Is that the patience blink? The fame?
It was a very feisty blink, but at least Rio is going to buy some time for himself. I don't know if you want to blink forward again. He does do it, but that means you're going to end up losing a couple of Stalkers real quick because the Colossus and Disruptors are pretty far behind the rest of his army. I mean, good defense. Oh my god, he's got to stop doing that. Like, Stalkers are pretty expensive, and those forward blinks are not paying off. Please get another Robo Rio. Like, it's the Robo units that could potentially still win you this game. I think Gateway units are not going to be the answer. The Banshees, by the way, are still alive.
Yeah, people watching might be confused about one player chasing the other one back, but it's MarineLorD that wants this. I mean, whenever the engagements are gonna get a little bit bad for him, like a little bit too bad, that's when he's retreating. And then, you know, he's gonna remax and move out again and trade until he can trade efficiently. I really liked what he did there, not being overly wasteful, because he could have just as well just engaged, taking a kind of a bad trade and then defended, right? And it would have looked fine, I think. But this was even more responsible.
I also can imagine a lot of people at home are wondering why Rail doesn't have a Templar Archives. Why isn't he getting a Storm? Yeah, but with 1,000 gas in the bank, I obviously understand that that's a valid question, but it's also hard to do too many things at once. With a couple of Disruptors, he still has a shot in this fight. Goes for another super courageous blink. The Disruptor actually almost went into the Stalkers there in the end. Real defense again. I wouldn't mind seeing a Templar Archives here, because if there is a fight where MarineLorD loses the goals, then even a couple of Archons, they can make a big difference.
These blinks are growing on me, Roddy. I'm not sure about you, but I feel like one of these times MarineLorD's gonna be like, you know what? You blink into me, I'm just gonna stand my ground. Then the Disruptors are gonna sneak forward. It's gonna be feisty. I don't know. Stalkers kind of melt is the problem, but I think there hasn't been enough Marauders maybe to punish them so far.
No, it's still just that MarineLorD is playing very, very conservative. He doesn't move out with everything that he has, and he's also spending an insane amount of resources at stuff at home, right? Because he's building additional command centers, sensor towers, extra starports. He's getting a fusion core with advanced ballistics. MarineLorD is gearing up for a super advanced army, and Rio is still working with the stuff that you normally see 7 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and I would go as far as to say MarineLorD's gearing up for like 3 super advanced armies at this point, because he is rich as well. And this is a nice concave for him. I mean, I think Rail had an opening here, Roddy. He had such a strong army, but he's fighting in the worst possible position, I think.
Yep, there's also a Colossus that was on the top side of our screen that was just fighting bio units by them.